Okay, good morning and welcome to Just Daf It, Daf Yomi Shir that is named after, you guessed it, Just Do It by Nike, because Just Daf It means let's just do it. Let's do the Daf, do it quickly, a half an hour, get it clear, straight to the point, and relatable. Um, let's start from the bottom, Nundalam and Bees. We left off about 5 lines from the bottom. We were talking about Isra of Arayos. Do they apply to relatives that are only paternally or relatives that are even from just the maternal side? We learn later on in the Masechta, interesting case, right? A man goes to an island, he goes away to the Caribbean. Let's get this straight. He goes away to the Caribbean for vacation. They say Mesa Ishtacha. People come and tell him your wife died, right? So if your wife dies, you're allowed to marry her sister. V'nasa achosa me'avi, he married her paternal sister, right? She was sisters through the father, not through the mother. Mesa v'nasa achosa. Then again, he went away to the Caribbean again, and they told him again, your wife died. So then he married achosa me'ima. He married the second wife's sister from her mother, Mesa. Again, he found out she died. V'nasa achosa me'avia. He married the third woman's sister from her father, Mesa. Again, he was told, V'nasa achosa me'ima. He marries a fifth lady. She is the maternal sister of the fourth lady. Mutter, and then what happens? They come back. Of course it happens. And you know what? They're all alive. All the ladies that were claimed to be dead, they're all alive. Who is he mutter to? Mutter b'rishon l'shishis v'chamishes. He's mutter to stay married to the first, third, and fifth, right? The first woman he was married to, who's already married to. Second second lady, second woman, she's the sister of his wife, the first lady. Can't marry sisters. The third lady is married to because she's not sisters. She's sisters of the second wife. She's not sisters of the first wife. Same thing with the fifth one. So Pocho Sarosean, and therefore, if this husband, after all this happens, he's married happily to the first, third, and fifth wife, who are not sisters of each other, and then he were to die without any children, right, from all of these wives, from one or two of them, whatever it would be, it would part to the Saros. Then he's married to three wives, and his brother is trying to do Yibum over here, or do Chalitza. If he does Chalitza to one of these women, it would pater the other, the third and the fifth. Also, B'shni of Revius, he can't be married to the second and fourth because he's married to the first, the second is a sister, married to the third, the fourth is a sister. So he can't be married to two sisters at the same time. So they were not. He was never married to them. And if you take one Yibum, second one, the brother takes the second one if he dies childless. It doesn't part to the third, it doesn't part to the fourth one. It's rendered, it's meaningless because he's not married to either of them. In let's say the first wife actually did die, right? Even if he married her, he gave her kiddushin or something like that. Well, it would have to be he gave kiddushin after the first wife actually died. He found out they were all wrong, and then his first wife died. Then he marries a second lady. So the Shni and the Revius are mutter. The second and the fourth one are mutter. The second one is mutter because the first wife died, so her sister is mutter. The third one is also because it's the sister of the second one who you're married to. And the fourth one is mutter because she's a sister of the third one. You're not married to the third one, so that's okay. And therefore, if he were to die, one of the Chalitza, one of them would pat to the Sar, the Ibn, one of them pat to the Sar. Also, but Shlishas Chamishas, he wouldn't be able to marry the Shlishas Chamishas, who are sisters of the second and fourth, who he's married to. Top of Nun Ham and Aleph. Alma Achaz Ishto Beimin Av Beimin Amy. See clearly for this Mishnah, this sort of marrying your wife's sister doesn't matter whether it's your wife's sister through a mother or through a father. Minolan, where do we know this from? Where did this Mishnah know this from? Yalef Ma'achosa, we learned from your sister marrying your own sister. Ma'achosa Beimin Av Beimin Amy. That says clearly in the Torah whether she's your maternal sister or your paternal sister or both. Afkan be'emin av be'emin aim. So too over here, logically we would say that also about your wife's sister, it would apply even if it's your wife's maternal sister or paternal sister. Be'emin av be'emin aim. So why don't we learn from your aunt, not your father's sister, your mother's sister, but your father's brother's wife, right, which we said yesterday only applies, base of Hosen only applies to your father's, if he shares that brother, it's his paternal brother who married a woman. You can't marry his wife, your aunt from him, paternal aunt, paternal brother of your father. So also over here we should say that. It makes more sense to learn from your own sister. She's directly related to you. And the same thing, your wife, you married your wife, and your wife is directly related to her sister. Maybe it makes more sense to learn from your aunt. Right? Your wife's sister, you did kiddushin to her, and that's why you became married to her, and then therefore that caused the issur of her sister. You can't marry your wife's sister because you married her. Same thing by Dodasa, because this woman married your father's brother, so therefore it's like Kiddushin. Opposed to your sister, has nothing to do with Kiddushin. That's just the fact that your parents had a daughter as opposed to just you a son. We can't learn it out from your sister. We'll learn it out from your brother's wife. Shekain davar alidei Kiddushin. Right? It depends on him. Your brother be mekadesh a woman. And it's also related to you internally through your brother. How do you know Eishes Ach applies whether he's a brother paternally or even maternally? The Sanya Erbas Eishes Achicha Lo Segala. You're not allowed to marry your brother's wife. The Rice says whether it's paternal brother, even a maternal brother. We know earlier the Masechta, right? The mitzvah of Yibum only applies by a paternal brother, but the Isser of Eishes Ach applies even by a maternal brother. Logically, we could figure that out. Right? You're not allowed to marry your brother's wife. You're not allowed to marry your sister. Just like your sister. It doesn't matter if she's a maternal sister. So to your brother's wife, also even a maternal brother. Maybe the other reasoning makes more sense. We learned that by your aunt, right? Your father's brother's wife, you can't marry. It only applies by a maternal brother of your father. So too over here, also by Ishazach, only from a paternal brother. Nearly midome. Whereas who does it make more sense to compare it to? Your aunt is through your father, right? When it comes to Ishazach, or it comes to Achoso, your sister, those things are directly related to a brother and your sister. I mean, you can't get any closer than brother and sister. Maybe the reasoning the other way. Just naturally occurs from being your sister, as opposed to your brother's wife. He has to marry a woman, and your father's brother has to marry a woman. So maybe they're more comparable. There's an extra pasuk. She is the heir of your brother. To include even if she's your maternal brother's wife. Maybe no. Both psukim that talk about your brother's wife are talking about your paternal brother's wife. One pasuk is talking about where she has children with her original husband. And one case is talking about where she didn't have children, but he's still married. The husband's still alive. Your brother's still alive. He divorced her. He didn't die. So that we already learned yesterday's daf, that if he divorced his wife, right, your brother divorced his wife, even though they didn't have any children, she still has surah as long as your brother is still alive. So still, the Gemara persists. Maybe both psukim are talking about your paternal brother. One's talking about where they had children. Of course, no mitzvah of Yibum. And the second one is talking about where again they had children, but the husband died. Right? Which he tell you can't do Yibum over there because he had children. The Gemara says, no, you don't need a patur for that. If he doesn't have children and he dies, she's muteresh for Yibum. So we know obviously from the mitzvah of Yibum that she's aser if there's no banim. Charlie Abba. The Gemara persists. Maybe if they didn't have children, she's ushered to everybody and much of the Yom. Yesh Labanim. But if she had children, Charlie Alma, Charlie Yom. Maybe it could be that if they have children, even though we said that we've been assuming that if there's not a mitzvah of Yibam, she's an Israel Shazach. The Gemara says maybe that's not true. Maybe if they have children, so she's mutter to everybody else, and she's mutter to the Yavam. So Inami, alternatively, Ein Labanim mitzvah. If they don't have children, the mitzvah of Yibam, Yesh Labanim Rishus, if he has children. So Rishus, he has the option of doing Yibam. Inami, Ein Labanim, in Yesh Labanim lo. Alternatively, like we're trying to say, if there's children, there's a mitzvah of Yibam. There's no children, there's no. But all it has the authority is an inference from a lav, which is only has the power of an essay. And we wouldn't know a lav. We wouldn't know a lav and the punishment of kares. You can't get a punishment of kares unless you're huzar, unless you get a lav in front of it. Because of krachrinas, so the Gemara concedes, yes, there is a different pasuk. Ervas achiv gila. Extra pasuk, the nakedness of your brother you bared. So therefore, it comes to include even the wife of your maternal brother. Ema eshes ach min ha'em ke eshes ach min ha'av. Ma eshes ach min ha'av la'acham is ba'ila shari. Just like your paternal brother, if he dies without kids, she's muteris to after he dies. Af eshes ach min ha'em la'acham is ba'ila shari. Also a maternal brother, right? The mitzvah of Yibam also. Amarakra he it says by your brother's wife he have yasa the hay. Whatever she is, and that's talking about, it comes to include that pasuk, your maternal brother's wife. She has to remain as she is, even if she doesn't have children. Your brother dies, she's still aser eishazach. Achos the cost about kares lamali. Why does that have to say kares by your sister? Right? This is really a tangential question. We learned yesterday that it says nida, and hukshu kol rayas nida. Rabbi Yonah's hekesha. Rabbi Yonah made hakish that all the arayas were hukshu kol tevos, kol arayas hukshu zelas. All the arayas are similar. It says nida kares, so just like nida's kares, all the arayas are kares. But it says by achoso, you marry your sister, you also get kares. Why does it say that? Lamali. Where I said Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan, Shibasam Kol Melachas Chayav Kol Achas V'Achas, tell you that if you do all the arayos, how many arayos there are? I don't know, 10 arayos. You'll forget about the Isra arayos. No Isra arayos. You're chayav a separate kares for each woman you're together with. That's why when I was way to say a second example. Ul Rabbi Yitzchak, the Amar, also the teacher of Yitzchak's teaching, the Amar Kol Chayav Kris B'Chalayu, all Chayav Krises were included in the general prohibition. Lama Yasa kares b'achos. So why does it say kares? But it says Alduna b'kares lo b'malchus. In order, as Rabbi Yitzchak says, tell you that she gets kares and not malchus. Meaning, Rabbi Yitzchak holds a klal. We know that the Torah doesn't punish you unless it warned you first. So, ein onesh alim can hizir, and there's a lav. So the fact that when I was way to say kares, tell you that sometimes a lav generally, if there's just a lav in the Torah, you get malchus for it. It's a lav shishma ma'isa. When you do a biyah that's asur, you get malchus for it. Once the Torah adds on a punishment, kares, or Yitzchak learns that if you violate that kares, you're together with your sister, so you're exempt from malchus. Torah traded in one for the other. You get kares and not malchus. Kares exclusively, and you're not liable at all for malchus. What's an afmin? Afmin is some way you're able to get rid of your kares. Can you get malchus and pater yourself from kares? That's the Gemara in Malchus talks about that. As an afmin nowadays, you have kares. Maybe you can pater yourself again. Malchus. And Yisrael says they're not related. The malchus doesn't apply when there's kares. That's what Yisrael's teaching. L'chalek minalan. So Rabbi Yochanan says l'chalek. Where do you know it from? Nafgalim vel isha minias to us l'chayev. So according to Rabbi Yitzchak, who learned it for something else, how does he know Rabbi Yochanan's rule that if you do all the arayos behelam ech and one forgetting, you're chayev on every erba? Nafgalim vel isha minias to masa. It says the extra word isha. L'chayev I'll call isha v'isha. Right? Nida obviously you're chayev. Kares it says the word isha also to tell you that every woman, every forbidden woman, you're chayev for. The dosa kosar bar rachmana aririm yu lamoli. Now again in the parsha of Arayos it says aririm yu. It's a different word. Kares means your life is cut off. Either your life is cut off early or you lose your children. It says aririm. Aririm is a lashon of you're not going to have children. So it says, Arim Yu Lamoli. The Rabba, you need a Rabba. The Rabba, Rami Ksiv, Arim Yu, Ksiv, Arim Yamusu. It says two psukim if you violate Kares. One, it mentions they will be Aririm, and one, Arim Yamusu, Haket, the Yeshlo Bonim. So one pasuk says, if you have children already, by the time you do Kares, Kovran, they die early. Ain Lo Bonim, if you haven't had children yet, Holy Hariri, then Aririm Yu, you remain barren for the rest of your life. It's Rechel Myth of Aririm Yu, it's Rechel Myth of Arim Yamusu. It has to say both. Because Rachman Arim Yu. If just said Arim Yu, Havamina Adachate. He's only liable. He only loses his children. He buries his children early from the children he had before up until the actual sin. Aval Mechate Be'elech Lo, but once he did the sin is over. He has children after that; they wouldn't die early. Kazim Rachmana Aririm Yamusu, they'll still die. Your children. Because Rachmana Aririm Yamusu. If it would just say Yamusu, Havamina Mechate Ve'elach, I would say only the children that he has from then on would be from the cars to be also Mikara low, but the children he had originally wouldn't be punished, wouldn't be cut off, they wouldn't die early. Sricha, that's why it says the pasuk Aririm Yu tell you that even if you had children beforehand, they die early. So basically, if you had children, they're gonna die. If you have children in the future, they're gonna die, or you're not gonna have children. All those are included in Aririm. Whereas get back to Ha'ara, and visit the Mishnah, that all you need to be Kohen or Yevamos is Ha'ara. We're going to see on Hamid Beis about what is the exact definition of Ha'ara. Ha'ara is a Tchilas Bia, it's the starting of your Bia. Ha'ara the Chayve Lavin Minolan, how do you know? Right, we learned Ha'ara by Chayve Krisos. How do you know even by Chayve Lavin? It's good enough to Chayve you for a Lav. The Gal Rachman Shivcha Zera Gabe Shivcha Karufa. Shivcha Karufa is a case, Parsh Kedoshim from yesterday, that's talking about Shivcha Knainis, right? She's allowed to be married to an Eved Yisrael, right? There's an Eved Knaini and an Eved Ivri. Eved Ivri is a Jew. He's a Jew, which is he stole, he didn't have money to pay back or something like that, so he became an Eved, a Jewish Ivri. He was completely Jewish. He's allowed to marry a Shivcha Knainis, even though a regular Jew is not allowed to marry a Shivcha Knainis. It's allowed in the Torah, but an Eved Ivri is allowed to marry a Shivcha Knainis. Now, if someone were he's married to the Shivcha Knainis, someone goes and commits adultery with the Shivcha Knainis, so it's an interesting situation. It's not normally if you commit adultery, it's Chayav Chenek, but if you do it with Shivcha Zera, with a Shivcha Knainis, so then all you're liable is lashes, a lav, and actually not even a lav. The woman herself, the Shivcha Knainis gets malchus, and you bring a carbon asham. It's one of the asham Shivcha Karufa. It's an interesting case. Bring an asham. So therefore, it says Shivcha Zera, right? There it says that there has to be a Gemar Bia. It has to be, in order to be Chayav for Shivcha adultery with a Shivcha Karufa, it has to be Shivcha Zera. It has to be, you complete your Bia. Normally completing your Bia is you ejaculate, you let out Zera. So once you let out semen, so then that's completion of your Bia. So Shivcha Karufa, which is Lav, she gets Malchus. So only there, you see, it has to be, the Torah specify, went out of its way to say, you need a Gemar Bia, you need a completion of your sexual act. So too, Michlal the Chayve Lavin Ba'ara. So all other Chayve Lavin must be just Ha'ara. Admar's Adarabba. The Gemara is maybe the opposite. The Gal Rachman Ha'ara b'Chayve Krisos. We know yesterday we learned that Ha'ara is good enough to be Chayve Krisos. Tchilas Bia Michlal the Chayve Lavin Gemara Bia. Why did it say by Chayve Kares to tell you that a Lavin are less severe? You need a complete Bia. Amar Vashim Ken Lishto Krab B'Shiv Charufa. If that were true, then why do you have to mention? Why do you have to be quiet? The Torah should have been quiet by Shiv Charufa. The fact when it added way by Chayve Lavin to say you need Gemar Bia shows you by other Chayve Lavin that you're not, that even harder you're Chayav. Chayve Lavin de Kuna Minol. And how do you know by Kahuna, right, which are more limited? It's only applies to Kohanim. How do you know Hara is enough to be Chayav over there? Asya Kicha Kicha the Kicha Kicha. It says one of the Kichas, some of these Surim, a Kohen Nala Yika Grusha. And it says Kicha by Chayve Krisos to tell you that just like a Ara by Chayve Krisos, Kicha also by Yitzhak Kahuna, even though the Lavim, Kohen the Grusha, Amanal Kohen Gadol, will also be a Ara, will be enough to be Chayve. The Chayve Essay Minol. And how do you know Chayve Essay? And Chayve Essay is, for an example, would be a Mitzri, right? Torah says that Torah Shlishi, you can marry a Mitzri. After he converts 3 generations, you have to wait. If you wait less than 3 generations, and he's a Mitzri, an Egyptian, then it's Asr from an inference. Lava Balam Kal Essay is an essay. You can only marry me after 3 generations. Before 3 generations is an essay. So how do you know over there, even Ha'ara with this Mitzri is enough to mechayev you for this essay? Gemara in Hamabiz on the top says Asya Bia Bia. There's a Gzeir Shava, it says Bia by Lo Yavo Mamzer Bekal Hashem. And it says Lo Yavo Mitzri Ador Shlishi. So just like Mamzer is a lav, we just learned before that Aura is good enough to be Mechavi. So on Mitzri also, Chayvi Essay is good enough to be Mechavi. Yevamos L'Shuk Minol. And Yevamos L'Shuk, where do we know that Aura is good enough, right? If she's in the construct of Yibam and she marries outside to someone else who's not a brother, right? How do you know she violates it with Aura? Ilamad Amar Lav Lav. What's the question? If you hold that Yevamos L'Shuk is a lav, so it's just like we learned the lav in Marchayev, so too she's a lav. Ilamad Amar, it's essay. And it's machlokas by Yevamos L'Shuk, is she a lav or is she an essay? Maybe she's just from the fact that Yevama Yavo Alel, only the Yavam could be with her, implying that anyone else can't. If she's not a brother, it can't be with her. So it's an essay, and Yevama Lo say Isha Ameis Achutza Lishar is usually something else, not for the lav. So either way, it's lav or an essay. We learned before, lav or an essay, or chayav with hara. Elo yavam liyavam minos. The Gemara says, basically, what's the source for the din in our Mishnah? How do you know that a yavam is kona yavama with a hara? Ask a bia bia, again, a gzera shava bia bia. It says yavam yavo Allah, and it says bia when it comes to chayve krisos. It says bia. So therefore, just like bia over there, hara so do over here. Our isha labala minol. And how do you know a woman? This is the subject. It's in isha labala. Rashi says isha labala. Inyan mekadesh b'bia minol ba'ara mekadsha. How do you know that when a man is mekadesh, one of the three ways of mekadesh a lady is being together with her? How do you know even ha'ara over there works? Asi kicha kicha says, right? Kikach isha ubala. It's talking about marrying a woman. It says kicha when it comes to kahuna, when it comes to chayve krisos and chayve laban. It says these things. So therefore, just go over there. Ha'ara so too over here for a kinyan, for kedushin would work. Toza has a problem with this Rashi because the Gemara in Kedushin actually asks this question by Kedushin, Tchilas Bia Kona, Gemara Bia Kona. And the Gemara says over there that Gemara Bia seemingly is Kona. So this is Toza's question over here. How could it be? Toza's in Kedushin has like 4 different answers. He quotes over here, this Toza's here in Yevamos, quotes 2 of these answers. We're going to discuss that, try to answer that question in Iyun with Ben Sion. You're not going to want to miss that. So the Amar Rav Amali the Kazar Rahmana Shechva Zera B'Shich Charuva Shechva Zera B'Yish Shechva Zera B'Sota. Even though normally Ha'ara basically works for everything, it's called a Bia for almost everything. 3 places the Torah went out of his way to say Shechva Zera. Shechva Zera means that he has to ejaculate inside the woman. That's a Gemara Bia. That's the end of the Bia. The Bia is over after that. So why does it say Daf by these 3 places? So the Gemara says Shechva Charuva K'Amra. Like we just said before, that it's really what it means. He has to let out the zera. If he doesn't let out the zera, you're not chayiv over that case. The Asian is problem shamish mace. Where I can see is that committing adultery shouldn't be different than any other kares or chayiv mises base or anything. Hara is considered a bia. We know it's considered a bia. So why does it say shechva zera over there? To tell you that if you're mishamish mace ba'arayos, you're not going to be chayiv. Meaning, if you have ED, erectile dysfunction, you can't become hard. So therefore, you're not going to be chayiv. Even if you technically were able to put it in to the woman, it doesn't make a difference. You're not going to be chayiv because it doesn't have the ability to ejaculate, to let out zera, and it's not called a bia. So the Gemara says, El Lamanda, the Gemara says, Hanich Lamanda Amar Mishama Shavit Barayas Potter. It's a machlokas whether if you're doing bia without an erection, El Lamanda Amar Chayev, according to Chayev, Ma'ikla name. What are you going to say? El Prat Mishamish Mesa. No, Shechva Zera is to tell you that you have to be doing an erva with a live woman. If she's dead already, a woman dies, and even though she's an araya, she's someone else's wife or something like that, or a sister or whatever it may be, if she's dead already, you're potter. She's still called his family. A woman after she dies, still called his family. He inherits her and things like that. You might be chayiv. You might think you committed adultery with a man's dead wife, Kamash Malan, that has Shechva Zera. It has to be, it's a little questionable what the Gemara is saying over here. It's not called Shechva Zera, it's not called a Gemara Bia. Even if you ejaculate a dead woman, it's not really called ejaculating because you're not going to enjoy it. I don't know. The Gemara means exactly over here. Anyway, the Gemara says, the The sota lamli. Why is it shikla zera by sota? The tanya shikla zera prat ledavar acher. Shikla zera by a sota. Right, a woman you warn, and she secludes herself with a man after you warned her, and we're not sure if they were together or not. Prat ledavar acher. My davar acher comes to include something else. What is davar acher? Rav Sheish is prat l'shekina la shalok. He warns her, but he doesn't warn her to be together with the man in a normal way, to be together with her from behind, when the man goes in from behind. Like Rava, Mishkavei Isha, the Gemara said that can't be the Gemara, the Brisa means, because Mishkavei Isha, Mishkavei is plural, the way of lying with a woman are plural to equate the two, that just like lying with her a normal way from the front is considered having relations, from the back is also considered relations. That's obvious. Alama Rava Prat l'shekina la derech evarim. It's just like, so the Gemara says, it's talking about where he warns her not to fool around with the guy, but not the complete bia. That would not be considered, that would not make her a sota, that she'd have to drink the water. Amalei Rava, how could you have a mina derech evarim should be going to create a sota? It's just pritzas, right? It's just I have it fooling around. He touches her breast. Rashi says, even he lets out zera, but not near the vagina. It's rubbing against her body. It's just pritzos. It's not a bia. No one would say his body. So Abai says, no, it's talking about davar acher. It's talking about where he warns her against neshika, meaning don't even insert your aver on the lips of her vagina. That you can't do without inserting it. Just to touch it, right? So that's the Gemara says shikva zera. It says by sota. That's not considered a warning. It doesn't create a sota. It has to actually do hachnas zatora. He has to actually warn her not to. The tip of his penis has to enter into the vagina. That makes sense. The one who says ha'ara, right? Tchilas bia is considered. We're gonna have a machlokas about that. It's putting in the corona. Elamandamar zu nishika. According to Mandamar, it says that it's nishika. All you have to do is touch the area. What are you going to say? Really, we'll go back to Shalhava. It's coming to exclude where he warns her not to just fool around with her. You might think a sota depends on what his husband is against. The husband doesn't want his wife to fool around with anyone, even if they're not going to be together. And he's angry about it. Kamash Malan, even if he's angry about it, it doesn't create a sota. Amar Shmuel, ha'ara zu neshika. Shmuel says, "Tchilas bia." Beginning of bia is neshika. Mashal adam sheminiach etzbo al pip. You just touch your finger on your mouth, right? Even if you just touch it very lightly, right? It presses inside. It presses the lips inside. So therefore, even if his penis touches the lips of the vagina, so therefore, even from the outside, it pushes in a little side. It's considered a bia. Kiyasa Rabba Barachana Amar Rabbi Yochanan Gemar bia. He says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, when it says Shikvat Zera by Shivcha Rufa, all it is Achnas Zatara. He just has to bring in the corona into the vagina. Mesiv Rav Sheish Shikvat Zera Inu Chayiv Al Bias Miro. The Brisa says Shikvat Zera teaches me by Shivcha Rufa you're not Chayiv until he ejaculates Bias Hamirog. My love Mirog doesn't mean it extends the whole aver, the entire penis inside the vagina, right? And then he lets out seed. Lo miruk atara. The Gemara is coming to exclude even if he just puts the atara in, like the tip of the penis in, and he ejaculates then it would be good enough. Kiyasar of Dimi Amar Yochanan ha'ara zu achnas atara. He said ha'ara is achnas atara. Amrei ha'rab rachana arlo amar hachi. He says no, only by shivcha karufa is achnas atara suffice, but otherwise neshika would be okay. Rabbi Yochanan didn't say this in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. It must be one of us are lying. Either he's lying or I'm lying. Ara is putting in the tip of the penis. Who says, right, only by Shivcha Charufa, it's Achnas Zatar. Everywhere else in the Shika, he for sure argues. The Shmuel Milema Polig is arguing on Shmuel. Shmuel says in the Shika. So the Gemara says no, maybe he doesn't argue on Shmuel. I mean Shika Achnas Zatara Ara Karila. All Rabbi Yochanan is doing, according to the Ravin, is telling you where the end of Ha'ara Tchilas Bia is, up until Hachnas Zatara. But he would agree even the Shika would be considered Tchilas Bia. Kiyasa Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda Amar Yochanan Ha'ara Zu Hachnas Zatara. Gmar bia mamish. She says ha'ara is haknasa tara. Gmar bia, finishing bia is gmar bia mamish, and he puts the full aver in, and he lets out zera. So the Gemara says mikan ve'elach eino el in shiko pater ale. But before anything before haknasa tara, actually putting in the tip of the penis, so then it's considered neshika and he's pater ale. Paul got the Shmuel. This version of Yochanan for sure argues on Shmuel. Shmuel says neshika is considered tchilas bia. I hope you enjoyed today's shir. See you in England, see you and trying to deal with a vital question of Rashi and Tosfos. See you then. Bye.